If you've ever tried to force yourself to change, you already know how exhausting it can feel. You tell yourself, I need to do better. I need to stop reacting like this. I need to become the new version of me. And for a moment, that pressure feels productive. Like if you push hard enough, you'll finally break the pattern. But then something strange happens. The harder you push, the more resistance you feel. You avoid. You shut down. You procrastinate. You fall back into the same reaction. And then you blame yourself. But what if the resistance isn't proof that you're weak? What if resistance is your nervous system saying, this feels unsafe? Because real change doesn't stabilize through pressure. It stabilizes through safety. And once you understand this, you stop trying to force the new version of you into existence, and you start creating the conditions where change can finally feel natural. When you force yourself to change, your mind may think it's helping, but your body may hear something different. Your body may hear, you're not safe as you are. You have to fix yourself quickly. You're running out of time. And even if your intention is growth, your nervous system can interpret that pressure as danger. Because pressure creates urgency. Urgency creates tension. And tension tells the body, we are not safe right now. So instead of opening to change, your system begins to protect itself. You may call it laziness. You may call it inconsistency. You may call it self-sabotage. But many times, it's protection. Your body is not refusing your future. It is trying to protect you from the pressure you attached to it. Just sit with that for a moment, because this changes the way you see resistance. Resistance is not always a wall. Sometimes, it's a message. This is where many people get stuck. They feel resistance, and their response is to push harder. They think, I need more discipline. I need to be stricter with myself. I need to stop being so emotional. So they add more pressure, more rules, more expectations, more self-judgment. But the nervous system doesn't soften under judgment. It braces. And once it braces, change becomes harder to hold. Think about the last time you tried to force a new routine. Maybe you told yourself, starting tomorrow, I'm going to completely change. New schedule, new mindset, new habits, new identity. And maybe day 1 felt exciting. But by day 3 or 4, your body started resisting. You felt tired. You felt annoyed. You felt like avoiding everything. Not because the change was bad, but because your system didn't have time to feel safe in it. You tried to become a completely new person overnight, without giving your nervous system evidence that this new version was safe to be. And when the body doesn't feel safe, it returns to what it knows. That's the loop. Pressure creates resistance. Resistance creates shame. Shame creates more pressure. And more pressure creates more resistance. That is why forcing rarely creates lasting change. It may create temporary action, but it doesn't create stability. The nervous system changes through repeated safety, not force, not punishment, not panic. Repeated safety. That means your body needs to experience, I can choose differently, and nothing bad happens. I can slow down, and I'm still okay. I can become someone new without abandoning myself. This is the missing piece. A lot of people try to change by rejecting who they used to be. They say, I hate this version of me. I need to get rid of this part of myself. I can't stand that I still react like this. But when you attack the old version of you, your nervous system protects it even more. Because that old version may have helped you survive. It may have helped you avoid rejection, avoid disappointment, avoid conflict, avoid overwhelm. So instead of saying, I need to destroy this version of me, try saying, I understand why this pattern existed, but I'm ready to teach my body something safer now. That shift matters because you are no longer fighting yourself. You are guiding yourself. And guidance feels different in the body. Pressure says, change now or else. Safety says, we can take one step. And for a dysregulated nervous system, one safe step is more powerful than 10 forced ones. This is where Neville Goddard's teaching becomes even clearer. Neville taught that your state creates your experience. But many people try to force the state. They try to force confidence, force trust, force certainty, force the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But forced feeling is not the same as assumed feeling. A forced state has tension underneath it. It says, I need this to work. I need to believe harder. I need to become this now. But an assumed state feels different. It feels natural. It feels settled. It feels like something your body can rest inside. And that is why nervous system regulation matters so much. Because if your body is in pressure, your assumption becomes performance. You may say the right words. You may visualize the right scene. You may repeat the right affirmation. But underneath it, your system may still be holding. I'm scared this won't happen. I'm trying to make this happen. I don't feel safe unless this changes. And the nervous system hears that. Not the perfect wording, the state underneath. So the goal is not to force yourself into belief. The goal is to regulate enough that belief can become natural. That is the real bridge. Not pressure, not performance. Naturalness. Because the new state becomes stable when your body no longer fights it. So, what actually helps change feel natural? Smaller steps, more safety, less self-attack, and repeated evidence. Instead of asking, how do I force myself to be different? Ask, what would make this change feel safe enough to repeat? That question changes everything. If you want to stop overthinking, don't demand that your mind be silent forever. Start by noticing one thought without obeying it. If you want to stop people-pleasing, don't force yourself to become fearless overnight. Start by pausing before you say yes. If you want to embody a new identity, don't pressure yourself to feel confident every second. Start by asking, what would this version of me do gently, right now? Not dramatically, gently. Because gentle change is still change. Quiet change is still change. A small response that does not match the old pattern is still new evidence. And your nervous system learns through evidence. Every time you choose differently without forcing, you teach your body, this is safe too. This version of me is safe too. I don't have to panic my way into growth. That is how change becomes natural. Not because you finally pushed hard enough, but because your system stopped needing to resist. The real shift is this. You stop treating change like a battle, and you start treating it like a relationship. A relationship with your body, your mind, your patterns, your future self. Because the new version of you is not created by hating the old version. The new version of you is stabilized by bringing safety to the place where the old version still lives. That is why compassion is not weakness. It is strategy. It is nervous system intelligence. It is how you stop creating inner resistance. So the next time you feel yourself resisting change, pause before you judge it. Ask, what feels unsafe about this? What am I afraid will happen if I actually change? What part of me needs reassurance right now? That moment of curiosity creates space, and space creates choice. And choice is where the new identity begins. You don't have to force yourself forward. You can support yourself forward. There is a difference. Force creates resistance. Support creates movement. And your body knows the difference. Pause here for a moment. Head down to the comments. On mobile, swipe left in the comments section to reveal the quiz. Tap your answer, then continue. What creates the most resistance when you're trying to change? A, moving too slowly. B, not having enough discipline. C, pressure and self-judgment. D, taking small steps. The answer is C, pressure and self-judgment. Because when your nervous system feels pressured, it protects. But when it feels safe, it can begin to change. So if you've been trying to force yourself to become better, take a breath. You don't need to attack the version of you that learned how to survive. You don't need to shame yourself into growth. And you don't need to pressure your nervous system into becoming someone new overnight. You can change differently. You can change through safety, through small, repeated evidence, through awareness, through compassion, through choosing one response that feels just slightly more aligned than the old one. That is not weakness. That is how real change becomes stable. And in the next video, we're going to bring the whole series together. We'll break down how to finally stabilize into the new version of you, so belief, identity, and nervous system safety can work together. Because change does not become permanent through pressure. It becomes permanent when your body finally feels safe being someone new. We regulate the body first, so belief finally works.